Hello and welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. I am a very lucky man. I have a wonderful wife who understands my passion for gaming, plays a lot of board games with me, and takes the time to learn about some of the more unusual aspects of my hobby. She also listens to me when I bang on about the good old days of Games Workshop. So, when she recently saw a listing for what appeared to be a complete copy of Dungeon Lairs, a fantastic set of card floor tiles for use with the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay game, she knew it would make a perfect gift for my birthday. She was absolutely right. As you can see, it's in the original box, which is in superb condition for a product that came out in 1986. And if we turn it over... that's not the bottom half of the Lairs box. That's the bottom half of the Caverns box. That's from a different set of floor tiles. So yeah, apparently my wife paid £30 for this, and for a copy of Dungeon Lairs, that's a pretty good price. However, it turned out she got a much better deal than she thought for. Because if we look inside the box, we have 4 complete unused sets of floor tiles, a set of Dungeon Lairs, a set of Dungeon Rooms, a set of Caverns, and a set of Dungeon Floor Plans Set 1. All dating from 1986 and all in unused, uncut condition. That is awesome. The only way I could have been happier is if there was a set of Halls of Horror in there. So I thought for today's video I would quickly go through each set so you can see exactly what a complete set should contain if you are looking at picking up any of these for yourself. First we have the Dungeon Lairs. This set includes a booklet with a card cover, and that card cover contains some of the floor plans. You can see we have a creepy spider lair on the front, and on the reverse we have 3 tunnels and a magma pit. I will never be removing this cover and cutting those out. I haven't got the heart to take apart a book that has survived in pristine condition for so many years. The book itself is actually quite fun. It's written as if you are getting a tour of demonic real estate from a Mr. Brathsabrul, and for each floor plan in the set, he gives you some ideas for how you can use those environments, some special rules covering things like what happens if a hero tries to cross the bridge in the sewers, or what the mould in the root cavern does, and then some stat blocks for enemies you could commonly find there. It's really neat, and if you still play classic Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, it's packed with useful stuff. There are even tables at the back for generating random monster encounters and magical treasures. Moving on to the rest of the floor plans, we have the sewers, and you will notice, and this is the same for most of the floor plans, there is no movement grid here. This is a bit of a shame, because a lot of the art for these rooms was recycled for use in the board game Mighty Warriors and the Advanced Hero Quest expansion Terror in the Dark, and honestly, that is where I am more likely to use these floor plans. There are ways around the issue. Switching to using a measuring tape in those areas, placing a transparent sheet with a 20mm grid over the rooms, or, what I can see myself doing, scanning them and then reprinting them with a grid overlay. But it's certainly less convenient than being ready to use out of the box. Next is the root cavern and the water cave. Smaller rooms are on the same sheet and you need to cut them up. Cutting them is easy with a craft knife. The board these are printed on is very thin, not much better than cereal packet card. But again, I am reluctant to take a knife to these. They are in as new condition. Scanning and reprinting them does seem like the best option. This is the Mossy Cave, which was used in Mighty Warriors as the Dragon Chamber, and the Troll Lair, which was used in Mighty Warriors as the Skaven Lair, and in Terror in the Dark. For Terror in the Dark, the room had an unusual diagonal cut to mark the entrance, and the movement grid was on an angle. Next we have the Goblin Hall, which comes in 2 parts. This same floor plan was used for the Lichmaster's Lair in Terror in the Dark, where of course it had a movement grid. It's also probably worth noting that all the subsequent uses of this artwork from Dungeon Lairs was much darker and set on a black background rather than this light grey background. Then we have the Tunnel Complex. This is a fun little board, lots of twists and turns, pools, barrels, all in that classic retro art style. This is the Ancient Temple, one of the few floor plans that actually has a 20mm grid pattern because of the flagstones. This floor plan appeared in Mighty Warriors, where it was also called the Ancient Temple, and it was in Terror in the Dark, where it was called the Mosaic Room. Next is the Barrow, which has lots of cool little details scattered about, like the tomb and the skull with the glowing green eyes. This floor plan was used as the first quest room for Terror in the Dark. Then we have the Chaos Temple, which shares a board with the Ice Cavern. These weren't reused elsewhere, but I bet Warhammer Quest players will instantly spot that one of the quest rooms took inspiration from this Chaos Temple, sharing the exact same layout. The last two floor plans are some of the most outlandish, and would make for perfect demonic realms for your heroes to explore. We have the Chaos Throne Room and the Chaos Cavern. And that's it for the layers, and that is all my wife thought she was buying, but we are just getting warmed up. Next we have the Dungeon Room set. Again, the booklet is included and it's in lovely condition. I love seeing classic stuff preserved this well. No cardboard covers this time, but the format is very similar to the Dungeon Lairs book, with special rules, example NPCs and potential monster encounters included for each of the rooms. This time, showcasing Games Workshop's classic dad humour, our guide is the halfling Pot Noodle Turner. This really is a nice resource, packed with fun ideas. As with layers, a lot of the art from the room set was recycled for other Games Workshop products. Both of these rooms, for example, the Guard Room and the Torture Chamber, were subsequently used in Mighty Warriors. Note that the Torture Chamber is one of the few rooms that does have a grid. Again, you can see you are supposed to cut this board in half to make two separate rooms. That is the case for a lot of the boards in this particular set. Then we have the Barracks and the Wizard's Study, another two rooms that were featured in Mighty Warriors. Additionally, the study was used in Advanced Hero Quest as one of the quest rooms. This is the Throne Room, which I am absolutely certain was not built to health and safety specifications. And then we have the Necromancer's Study, which features a likeness of the life tracker from popular British television series Nightmare. The Necromancer's Study was included with Mighty Warriors. Then we have the Temple, which I really like. There is something about the symmetrical layout and the steps that I find very pleasing. We also have a kitchen for making your halfling hot pots. Three rooms on the next board, the Mausoleum, the Armory and the Forge. All really useful locations, all illustrated with almost no space for a miniature to stand anywhere. Then we have another three cramped rooms, the Well, the Apothecary and the Library. The Library was reused for Mighty Warriors. Next is the Stairwell and the Gladiatorial Pit. I really like this pit because it has a flagstone grid around the top and then one large space for the combat area. I think that works quite well, as you can consider all models in the pit to be adjacent and involved in a swirling melee. I do think this room may have inspired the Fighting Pit quest room from Warhammer Quest, although the layout isn't the same. Here we have the Treasure Room and the Alchemist's Laboratory. Really lovely vibrant colours, and both featuring artwork that was recycled for Mighty Warriors. Then we have a bedroom, which is actually kind of cool, and the Mortuary. The Mortuary is great. There is something eerie and unsettling about the horribly human-shaped cadavers draped in white sheets, and then there is that comical skull poking out in the middle, which just makes me smile. Classic Games Workshop stuff always had a brilliant knack of walking a line between horror and humour. The next two rooms feel like they escaped from the Dungeon Lairs set. We have a Dragon's Lair, complete with hatching egg. There is a little eye peeping out, so be careful. And we have an orc den in a cave by some water. Lots of character in that art. There isn't a lot of detail, but it conveys effortlessly the squalor of an orc lair. The last room is a nice big one, the Great Hall. It was reused in Mighty Warriors, providing one of the more interesting areas to fight in thanks to the staircases. The last board in the set contains corridors and tunnels, all, interestingly, with 20mm movement grids. The idea here is you cut them up however you require to connect your rooms and layers. I will not be doing that, but I will probably scan the artwork to make some corridors with it. And that is it for the room set. Moving on, we have Dungeon Floor Plans 1. This is a different sort of product to the previous two. You didn't get a booklet as far as I'm aware, and you didn't get any fixed room layouts. Instead, you got sheets of artwork that you were supposed to cut up to create the rooms and corridors you needed. Fortunately, none of the sheets I have are cut, and I sure as heck won't be cutting them myself. That doesn't mean they won't get some use though. Most of these sheets feature flagstones that form a 20mm grid, and the uncut sheets make good sized rooms for big battles. I also intend to scan all the artwork so I can use it for printing up my own room layouts. Anyway, the set includes one sheet with this artwork, two sheets with this artwork, two sheets with this artwork, and four sheets with this artwork. You then get one sheet with stairs that you can cut to size. Those circles are not the tops of towers, they are circular staircases. Cut them into quarters to make HeroQuest style entrances and exits for your dungeons. There is then one sheet with wood flooring, which alas has no grid. This sheet also includes doors, a rickety bridge, and a hole that you can use to divide up and detail your dungeons. Finally, you get a really cool sheet of dungeon accessories on a 20mm grid. I can make some excellent advanced HeroQuest tokens with this sheet, although it is unfortunate that some of the art isn't aligned correctly to the grid. Look at the pillars, for example, they overhang into adjacent spaces. And that's it for our Dungeon Floor Plan Set 1, so we can move on to the last set that was included, Caverns. It's the same deal here, you get sheets of dungeon art to cut up however you want, and almost all of it is gridded or divided up into useful spaces in some way. Hooray for that. You get 3 sheets with this artwork, then you get 3 sheets of these cool winding corridors, and you don't even need to cut these bad boys up, they are designed to fit together in different configurations as they are. You then get 2 sheets of slightly less windy tunnels, which again will fit together in different configurations and can be combined with other sheets. There is 1 sheet of straight tunnels and minecart tracks, that's fun, 1 sheet of underground rivers, 1 sheet featuring a cave entrance, this is designed to work as a complete design but you can split it into an inside and outside tile if you wish to. Finally, you get 1 sheet of useful details, pits, stairs, rocks, prisons, dens and the like. And that is all so cool. I love it. There is a part of me that wants to jump right in, start hacking the boards up and using them as intended. But darn it, I just can't. These are so well preserved, I can't cut them now. Some of them I will scan to make my own stuff with. Some of them I may add a grid to and reprint. Some I will use as they are straight out of the box. Regardless, I am going to get a lot of enjoyment out of these, and they will be used for Advanced HeroQuest, D&D, and other tabletop games like Rangers of Shadowdeep. This is an amazing gift, not just for how useful it is, and not just because of the insanely good deal my wife got, but because it's in such great condition and captures that moment in time in the 80s when Games Workshop was still making role-playing stuff. It's a period of time I have a lot of fondness for, and for someone who enjoys classic Games Workshop and all the nostalgia that surrounds it, this is just perfect. And that's almost all I have to say, because this gift really is the gift that keeps on giving. Tucked within these floor plans were 2 sheets of thin card with all the components for building a house suitable for Warhammer Fantasy Battle. At first, I thought these might be from the Townscape collection that Games Workshop published, but then I realised I recognised this house. I knew this house. I built this house once upon a time when I was a kid. Because this is actually a papercraft freebie that was included with White Dwarf issue 155 in January 1992. For a long time, this house stood on my table, alongside the cardboard building from the Warhammer Fantasy Battle 4th edition starter set. My goblin hordes fought and died to protect this building until it crumpled and fell apart. And now, here it is again. Unfortunately, both sheets have been ripped, but that's okay. I'm going to scan the sheets, I can touch up any visible damage, and then reprint them. I'm going to make this house, and once more it will grace my tabletop. Once again, my goblins can die defending it. Best gift ever. I am always bored, never boring. I just turned 45, but for a moment, one brief moment, I am a kid again. And that is it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please consider pressing the like button. If you really like this video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.